Added to this their terrifying numbers, man-vulture packs were practically the nightmare of every passing trade caravan and ordinary villagers. Once they set their sights on them, the consequences would undoubtedly be very tragic. Yet the man-vultures simply had to be nomadic by nature. They roamed about like homeless, wandering spirits and messed with whoever they came across. Those that they came across could only lament their misfortune. "Sirs, please return to your rooms and take a firm seat. We must hurry and circle around them. Otherwise, once they come on to us, we'll be dead meat." The beast tamer's voice was somewhat trembling. As for the floating beast they were riding, it was even shaking like a leaf, fearful and uneasy. The man-vultures had frightened them badly. "It's just man-vultures. What's there to be scared of?" Menglay chuckled and said, "Please wait a moment for me, Presidents. I'll be back in a jiffy." "Menglay, it's just a bunch of good-for-nothings. Why would a Saint Domain like you need to take any action? Let them do it instead." The 6 Academy presidents replied with a laugh as they gestured at the contestants. "It's fine. They can't fly, so it'll be pretty troublesome for them." Menglay gave them a smile. Then, he soared into the sky in an instant and transformed into a stream of light shooting toward the flock of man-vultures. All of these were money, after all. How could he allow others to do it for him? Squawk! 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 The man-vultures flew at high speed. They let out strange-sounding squawks, their cries sharp and shrill, messy and chaotic, as though they were a murder of crows cawing carelessly at random. Together with their sheer numbers, ordinary people would definitely be scared witless. However, they were the ones in for a tragedy today. As Menglay pointed at the sky, an orange-sized fireball drew a fiery arc across the sky and shot abruptly into the flock of man-vultures. It looked absolutely unassuming, and neither did it cause any commotion. However, the moment the fireball shot into the center of the flock of man-vultures, it went off with a blast. Boom! Violent shock waves swept through several kilometers of where they were in an instant. All the man-vultures within the range didn't even have the time to scream before they were blown into smithereens and burned to ashes. Ding! 1 man-vulture killed. 310,000 gold coins gained. Ding! 1 man-vulture killed. 80,000 gold coins gained. Ding! 1 man-vulture killed. 170,000 gold coins gained. As system notifications rang out following his actions, his wealth also began to increase. Menglay couldn't help but smile at that. As expected. Sounds like these are the most pleasant sounding after all. Squawk! The sudden explosion had shocked the remaining man-vultures into a daze. They flapped their wings frantically and fled far away from the sea of fire with shock and horror in their eyes. Who am I? Where am I? What have I done? It was just a shame that no matter how fast they fled, they just couldn't go any faster than Menglay's speed of shooting fireballs. Several orange-sized fireballs shot fiercely toward them like a machine gun. Then they exploded one after another. Boom! Amid earth-shattering booming explosions, the entire sky was enveloped in a fearsome sea of fire. The vast ocean of fire also swallowed up the masses of man-vulture bandits. A few minutes later, all the smoke and dust dispersed. The black masses of man-vultures had disappeared, totally disappeared from the face of the earth, leaving behind not even a single feather. All right? Huh? No magic cores. Menglay was a little taken aback as he stared at the empty sky. The Sea of Fire just now had only been an ordinary 8th grade to 9th grade spell, meaning it shouldn't have been enough to burn away the magic cores. In other words, those man-vultures don't have magic cores at all? F***CK. I was all worked up over nothing. Menglay was sorely disappointed. The vast and boundless Dragon God Empire was situated in the east of Heaven's Vault continent, overlooking the endless oceans in the east and facing the magical Beast Ridge in the west. 15 kingdoms and 48 dukedoms were under its rule. These 15 kingdoms and 48 dukedoms were sited at the Dragon God Empire's periphery and were subsidiary nations surrounding and protecting the Dragon God Empire. The widest and most spacious, and the wealthiest and most fertile lands were still under the Dragon God Empire's jurisdiction. Due to its exceedingly vast territory, flying from Fire Dragon Kingdom to the Dragon God Empire was an extremely long and slow journey. Took a minimum of 5 days to reach there by flight. If one took the ground route, they would need an even longer time. Fortunately, 5 days' time didn't count as much to cultivators like Meng Lei. It was no more than a meditation session, a nap, or a round of seclusion. Meng Lei didn't stay idle during this period of time, either. He picked up dropped light balls casually, killed bandits and magical beasts they encountered along the way. After 5 days, he had gained a handsome amount of rewards. We're finally here at the Imperial City. On the 5th evening, the Imperial City finally came within sight. As the 6 Academy presidents gazed at the grand and magnificent huge city sprawling across the land in the distance, emotional looks appeared on their countenances. So many years later, I'm finally here at the Imperial City again. The last time I was in the Imperial City had been 18 years ago. Who'd have thought that, in the twinkling of an eye, 18 years had already gone by. Haha. Your Ink Splendor Academy has produced exceptionally poor results these recent years. As its Academy president, there's naturally no need for you to come to the Imperial City. Meng Lei and the other contestants also stood atop the floating beast as they gazed at the Imperial City from afar. There was still a great distance between their location and the Imperial City, but they could still see the Imperial City's silhouette nevertheless. The Imperial City was just like a primeval behemoth prostrating on the great lands. Several routes accessible from all sides extended from the Imperial City like blood vessels, leading to every corner of the empire. At the Imperial City's outermost perimeter were lofty and towering city walls that stood tall and straight. The golden city walls that towered as high as 1,000 feet were mightier, more awe-inspiring, and more extravagant than any city walls that Meng Lei had ever seen. The rays at sunset shone upon the city walls and reflected an eye-catching radiance and dazzling brilliance. So, that's the Imperial City? All the contestants murmured to themselves, astounded by the sight. Meng Lei's gaze, however, had been captured by a gigantic tower that rose all the way into the clouds. That gigantic tower stood erect in the very center of the Imperial City like a holy tree that led into the heavens and connected the heavens and earth. Big and tall, lofty and majestic, one couldn't see to the top of it. Meng Lei couldn't help but think of the Corrin Tower in Dragon Ball 1. That gigantic towering tower certainly bore a light resemblance to Corrin Tower. That's the Dragon God Tower. Upon noticing Meng Lei's line of sight, President Fred twisted his beard and smiled as he said, "It's the divine weapon protecting the Dragon God Empire. You can try challenging it during the exchange competition." "All right." Meng Lei gave a heavy nod in response. He held great interest in the tower. He wanted very much to know how many levels he could reach. The sky above the Imperial City was a no-fly zone. Apart from Saint Domains, all flying magic devices and flying mounts were prohibited from flight. Left with no other choice, the floating beast could only land at a harbor outside the Imperial City. Then, Meng Lei and the rest rented a magic carriage and sped off toward the Imperial City. The city gates were bigger and taller than any Meng Lei had ever seen in the past. Teams of golden armored sentries guarded the gates and scanned every merchant and vehicle entering the city. The Imperial City was built 40,000 years ago. At that time, the Beast People Empire's rule was starting to break down. As Heaven's Vault continent sank into unprecedented turmoil, all the various races that had laid low and silent emerged one after another. Unwilling to fall behind others, our colossal dragon forefathers also led 3,000 colossal dragons and flew out of the Dragon Island, beginning their noble conquest of Heaven's Vault continent. In the end, under the leadership of the founding Dragon Emperor, our colossal dragon forefathers forged through various troubles. It was only after several thousand years of efforts and battles that the current Dragon God Empire exists. One in history, Timon Barton, the shops were more prosperous, and there were more of them than in the kingdom. The buildings were taller and grander than the kingdoms. The population was denser and more complex than the kingdoms. Among the passers-by going to and fro were taurens with ox heads, demi-fairies with pointy ears, as well as demi-giants that towered at several meters tall. But of course, what there was in abundance were still humans and dragon people. The Imperial city's degree of prosperity is something far beyond the capital cities. The population is denser here, so there is naturally a higher concentration of experts here. And there is an astonishingly high number of influential officials and nobles. Even with just a casual turn of the head, you may just bump into an earl. Therefore, during this period where the exchange competition is ongoing, all of you'd better behave and refrain from making any trouble, lest you rile anyone that you shouldn't be messing with and embarrass the six of us old fellows. Yes, President. With regard to the Academy President's repeated advice, Meng Lei felt it even more keenly because ever since he had stepped into the Imperial City, the system's voice notifications had never once stopped. Ding! Assimilation successful. Host's physical body constitution plus 116. Ding! Assimilation successful. Host's wealth plus 1,290. Ding! Assimilation successful. You have obtained the third-grade spell. Meng Lei had already fallen in love with the system's voice at some unknown point in time, although it sounded icy cold and emotionless. The moment an extended period of absence came about, he would end up anxious and restless as if something was lacking in his life. Upon hearing the system's constant voice notifications at this moment, Meng Lei felt greatly soothed, especially when he saw how his various attributes were continuously being refreshed. One could just imagine how pleased he was. As expected, one certainly ought to come to big places like this more often. The attributes here were the plumpest and most fertile, as well as the highest in volume. His gains from being just a short while here could already match up to what he got in an entire day elsewhere. Sweet. By the time their group reached the inn, 3 hours had already gone by. They entered the inn and went through the check-in procedures. And then, the Academy presidents began their lectures. We have to assemble at the Dragon God Academy tomorrow morning, so have an early night. We'll assemble in the hall tomorrow at 7 in the morning. Yes, President. After the Academy presidents left their instructions, all the contestants returned to their rooms to rest, including Meng Lei. As he rested on the cottony soft-down silk comforter and took in the wonderful scent of the sheets, Meng Lei did something he rarely did. He didn't go into meditation. Instead, he fell asleep in a good mood. When he woke up the next day, he felt refreshed and invigorated. By the time he went down the stairs and arrived at the hall, all the other contestants had already assembled. Then, Meng Lei found himself a seat somewhere. At this moment, a dragon person contestant with a pair of horns on his head leaned over and asked carefully, "Lord Meng Lei, when are you going to challenge the Dragon God Tower?" His name was Joel Elton. He was from the Fighting Dragon Academy and was born into nobility. As he had intentions of building good relations with Meng Lei, he had constantly tried to cozy up to Meng Lei during their whole journey to the Imperial City. Meng Lei was well aware of his intentions. He cast a glance at him and replied calmly, "Aren't we assembling at the Dragon God Academy today? If there's time, perhaps I can go and take a look at it." Joel paid Meng Lei a whole lot of flattery with an obsequious expression on his face, and said, "With Lord Meng Lei's abilities, I'm sure you can rank in the Dragon God Genius ranking and awe the Imperial City to become the kingdom's pride." The Dragon God Genius ranking? Meng Lei raised an eyebrow, a look of puzzlement coming over his features. "Don't you know about the Dragon God Genius ranking, Lord Meng Lei?" Joel was taken aback for a moment there. Then, he hurriedly explained, "There's a magic light screen on the Dragon God Tower where the names of the top 1,000 people with the most outstanding results among those that entered will be listed. That's the Dragon God Genius ranking. After one enters the Dragon God Tower, the higher the level they go, and the longer they stay inside, the higher they'll rank in the ranking. It can be said that the Dragon God Genius ranking is a record of the 1,000 most astoundingly talented people in the Empire's 40,000-odd years of history, a record of only 1,000 people over a period of more than 40,000 years? Meng Lei was startled. In that case, it's going to be very difficult if one wishes to put their name on the list. Yes, that's right. Another contestant also came over and added, "This is because not only does the Dragon God Genius ranking record the geniuses of our generation, but it also records the geniuses in history. It's akin to having all the geniuses in history compete on the same platform." Therefore, there's indeed an extremely high level of difficulty if one wants to enter the ranking. Because of this, every single one of those that could make their way into the ranking is a true genius that had gone down in history. Not only are they the kingdom's pride, but they are also the academy's. I see. Meng Lei shook his head lightly. Then, he asked curiously, do you know who the one that places top is? It's Timon Barton, the one known as the child of the dragon god, of course. There's no doubt about that, a contestant replied without any slightest bit of hesitation whatsoever. The child of the dragon god? Timon Barton? Meng Lei was puzzled. Timon Barton is someone from 13,000 years ago, and is also the highest-ranked person ever in history among those that have entered the Dragon God Tower. He first entered the Dragon God Tower at 11 years old. In the short span of 14 years, until he turned 25, he had gone into the tower a total of 42 times. The highest he's ever gone was the 78th level, while the longest he's ever stayed for was a duration of 8 months. It's said that Timon Barton started cultivating at the age of 9, became an 8th grade expert at 11, and broke through to Saint Domain at 14. Because he's so amazingly talented and peerless in history, he is known as the child of the dragon god. He's also the one with the highest hopes of ascending to the 100th level of the Dragon God Tower. Saint Domain at 14 years old? All the contestants couldn't help but gasp. Then, they looked at Meng Lei and remarked, isn't he even more of a mutant than Lord Meng Lei, then? They were already very astounded by how Meng Lei had become a Saint Domain at 16 years old. Little did they know that there was a ferocious guy out there that was even crazier than him. Indeed, however strong one was, there would always be someone stronger still. Since Timon Barton has already gone up to the 78th level when he was 25 years old, then why didn't he continue going further up? Meng Lei asked. Because he has fallen. Joel explained with a wry smile. The reason for his death is unknown, but the official statement from the Empire authorities is that he has indeed already fallen. As for the truth of the matter, it's something we won't know. He has fallen? Meng Lei was startled by the answer. At once, he felt immense regret about it. To think a genius like that has actually fallen. Yes, what a shame indeed, Joel said regretfully. Starting his cultivation at 9 years old, entering the Saint Domain realm at 14, and passing at 25. Even though Timon Barton only had a short cultivation career of 16 years, the record he has created is unprecedented in history and never again seen after, shining brightly upon history and being passed down even today. As such, Timon Barton is also known as the #1 genius in all of Dragon God Empire's history. He well deserves the title of the #1 genius in the Dragon God Empire. Meng Lei nodded slowly. Well, Amos sighed and also remarked, how unexpected that such an amazing talent had actually emerged from the Dragon God Empire after my passing. What a shame. Sigh. It's certainly a huge shame. Is everyone here? At this point, the 6 academy presidents came down from the upper floors. The contestants nodded and replied, yes, everyone's here. Not a single person missing. Great. Since everyone has arrived, then let's set off. Then, all of them boarded the magic carriage and made their way to the Dragon God Academy. On the way there, President Fred suddenly asked Meng Lei, I heard the lot of you talking about Timon Barton just now? Yes. Timon Barton is indeed the most astounding genius in the Dragon God Empire's history. In addition, he's also from the Fire Dragon Kingdom. It's just a shame that the heavens are jealous of great talent. President Fred was terribly emotional as he remarked. If he were still alive, he'd probably have already surpassed Saint Domain, or even the half-deity realm, to break through and become a deity a long time ago. He was from the Fire Dragon Kingdom? Even in the entire Heaven's Vault continent, Dragon God Academy was the highest learning institution that ranked among the best. Its rich heritage and strength weren't something that Fire Dragon Magic Academy or other academies could compare to. So, this is Dragon God Academy? A magic carriage came to a stop outside the Dragon God Academy gates, and then Meng Lei and the rest alighted from it. Looks of astoundment couldn't help but surface in their eyes as they gazed at the grand and majestic gates in front of them. The so-called school gates were actually formed by a pair of 1,000 feet tall golden colossal dragon statues that surrounded and protected the area. The two statues faced each other with their claws clasped around each other's, and their wings spread in mid-flight. Their dragon scales appeared vivid and true to life, and their claws ferocious and mighty-looking. Their heads were raised with their horns pointed toward the sky and their fierce-looking jaws open in mid-roar. Savage, awe-inspiring, domineering, powerful. President Fred, all of you are finally here. Sporting an enthusiastic and cheerful smile, a middle-aged lady dressed in a violet magic robe walked briskly toward them in welcome. Dorothy, it's been a while. President Fred broke into a smile at once and went toward her cheerfully at the sight of her. It was only after they had exchanged their greetings with each other that President Fred finally gestured at the middle-aged lady and made the introductions. Allow me to introduce you to each other. This is Dorothy Caesar, a fire elemental and wind elemental Saint Domain great magician and the vice president of Dragon God Academy. She is also my disciple, as well as an outstanding alumnus of Fire Dragon Magic Academy. Among the Fire Dragon Magic Academy graduates, she's one of the few with the best career progression. Greetings, Lady Dorothy. Awed, the contestants hurriedly paid their respects. Hee hee. Hello, everyone. A smiling Dorothy returned the greeting. As her gaze flicked past the contestants one by one, a gratified smile appeared on her visage. President Fred, it looks like the contestants are pretty great this time. There are quite a few good saplings among them. Ha ha ha, of course. Fred burst into hearty laughter as he stroked his beard. We're out for revenge this time, after all. We'll have to consider ourselves as having failed in our mission if we don't rank within the top 3 this time. Ha ha. To think you actually have the guts to boast so shamelessly here. As a thundering laugh reached them, a burly, muscular elderly man with black horns on his head and leading a group of people strode over with his head held high. He had a hawkish visage and a sinister expression all over his features. I was wondering who it could be. So it's you, Fred. The burly elderly man walked over to President Fred. Then, a contemptuous look came over his visage at once. Is there even anyone that doesn't know how the Fire Dragon Kingdom always comes in last place every year? Out for revenge? Are you kidding me? President Fred's countenance darkened at once. Angus, don't be a pot calling the kettle black. Your Black Dragon Academy isn't any stronger. At least it's a little stronger than the Fire Dragon Magic Academy. The burly elderly man gave him a smug smile as he went on. Fred, I'm not afraid to tell you that a genius has emerged from the Black Dragon Academy this year. Hopefully, your men won't run into him during the exchange competition. Otherwise, they'll be crushed so badly that they'll end up in tears. Humph, we'll see about that. President Fred snorted in response. A confident smile appeared at the corners of his lips as he scoffed inwardly. Do you think you're the only academy that has produced a genius? In his opinion, no matter how impressive the Black Dragon Academy's genius was, there was no way they could possibly compare to Meng Lei. After all, Meng Lei was already a Saint Domain. This was enough grounds for him to perform brilliantly in the exchange competition. There were far and few that were stronger than him. Be stubborn all you want, Fred. Angus, the burly elderly man, shook his head with a light laugh. Then, with a group of people in tow, he entered the Dragon God Academy. President Fred gazed at him from the back and retorted inwardly, Wait and see! The Fighting Dragon Academy president also spat furiously. That old black dragon is still so loathsome. Everyone in the Black Dragon Kingdom is a lunatic with a dark, sinister personality. President Fred shook his head. Let's go. We should head in too. People from the Black Dragon Kingdom. Ding! Assimilation successful. Host spirit plus 139. Ding! Assimilation successful. Host's magic power plus 872. Ding! Assimilation successful. You have obtained the spell. Meng Lei walked about in the ancient, time-worn forested island, listening to the system notifications constantly sounding in his ears and admiring the scenery in Dragon God Academy leisurely. Unlike their big, tall, and majestic school gates, the Dragon God Academy interior seemed exceptionally quiet, with marks and vicissitudes of life left behind in every corner of the place. Sycamore trees thick enough for a person's arms to circle around each were lined up neatly. Moss covered the old, aged flagstones. Students in the midst of meditation could be seen everywhere in the forest. Rich, heavy, and ancient, the place fully exhibited a historical vibe. As expected of a 40,000-year-old institution, marveled Meng Lei. He followed the academy presidents and the others to a big and tall teaching faculty building. Upon their arrival, he discovered that several other kingdoms' contestants were already gathered there. These contestants from various kingdoms were divided into quite a few camps. All of them secretly sized up one another, yet also minded their own business at the same time, maintaining a sufficient sense of distance from one another. The contestants from the Tempest Kingdom, Thunder Dragon Kingdom, Black Dragon Kingdom, and Earth Dragon Kingdom have already arrived, including us, the Fire Dragon Kingdom, that makes 5 kingdoms from the Empire. We're supposed to assemble and report today while the competition officially starts tomorrow. Therefore, all contestants have to be present. I'm sure the contestants from the other 10 kingdoms will be arriving soon. 2. Stay here and wait for further instructions. Everyone. We'll be back in a moment. After the 6 academy presidents left them instructions, they entered the teaching faculty building together with Vice President Dorothy, leaving Meng Lei and the other 51 contestants to wait there quietly. During the next hour and a little more, the contestants and teachers in charge from the other 10 kingdoms and dukedoms arrived one after another. For a while, the area in front of the teaching faculty building was full of people. 15 kingdoms, 48 dukedoms, close to 2,000 contestants, and all of them 9th grade experts. Just a lineup like this was enough to apply great pressure on many contestants. Meng Lei couldn't be sure about those from other kingdoms, but what he did know was that quite a fair number of Fire Dragon Kingdom contestants were beginning to turn nervous. It wasn't over yet, though. Another 10 minutes or so later, an almost 3,000-strong team came approaching. They formed a large, black mass, as though a group of Triad members had been mobilized and caused a huge buzz to go through the crowd. They are... Everyone raised their heads and looked over. At the sight of them, several people's countenances changed. They are Empire-affiliated Academy contestants. What? Empire-affiliated Academy contestants? They're so strong. Meng Lei also raised his head and looked over. A small portion of the exchange competition contestants came from the 15 kingdoms and 48 dukedoms, while a large majority of them were from the dragon god Imperial city itself. This group of contestants was also known as Empire-affiliated Academy contestants. In other words, contestants from academies directly affiliated to the Dragon God Empire. Evidently, those 3,000 people in front of them were exactly those very contestants. Dressed in uniforms of varying styles, those 3,000 contestants obviously hailed from different academies. However, the way they looked at Meng Lei and the other contestants from the 15 kingdoms and 48 dukedoms was the same, full of contempt and disdain. As Empire-affiliated Academy contestants, they held an extreme sense of superiority toward others and totally looked down on contestants from the kingdoms and dukedoms. In their opinions, contestants from the kingdoms and dukedoms were no different from people from the countryside. How could they possibly be qualified enough to compete with them on the same platform? So, they are the contestants from the 15 kingdoms and 48 dukedoms? They don't look like much, as expected of people from the countryside. They are but just a motley crew. When have they ever taken the exchange competition seriously instead of just going through the motions? How would they possibly be able to tolerate such provocation that was almost no different from humiliation? Aren't they just Empire-affiliated Academy contestants? What's the big deal about them? Come forward and fight one-on-one with me if you're that strong. Unable to stop himself, a contestant from the Black Dragon Kingdom stepped forward and glared furiously at the Empire-affiliated Academy contestants. Exactly. A barking dog never bites. If you're that capable, then let us take a gander at your skills. What does shooting your mouth off even count as? Have the great Empire-affiliated academies groomed only a bunch of braggarts that only know how to talk big? The contestants from the other kingdoms and dukedoms also spoke up one after another, The Empire-affiliated Academy contestants had completely riled up all of them. Oho! The Empire-affiliated Academy contestants were greatly amused by the sight of the mounting public indignation among the contestants from the kingdoms and dukedoms. As if they'd just witnessed a bunch of infuriated country bumpkin dogs barking madly, they burst into uproarious laughter. One of them snorted in derision and sneered. "Country bumpkins, I wish I could rip your foul mouths apart and show you what we city dwellers are capable of, but unfortunately..." He pointed at the ground right underneath his feet and continued. "Do you have any idea where you currently are? This is Dragon God Academy, the most sublime, most excellent, and noblest education institution in the Empire. It's not a place that your little colleges in the countryside can compare to, much less somewhere that you can act atrociously at will. Dragon God Academy prohibits private fights. Country bumpkins, you don't need to be in such a hurry even if you're looking for a thrashing. You'll be so sorry when the exchange competition comes around tomorrow. Humph! Why bother waiting till tomorrow? I'll show you a thing or two right away today. Which one of you wants to fight one-on-one with me?" The Empire-affiliated Academy contestants' cockiness and contempt had thoroughly infuriated the contestants from the kingdoms and dukedoms. All of them stepped forward one by one, the aura around them fired up and the fight in them rushing straight to the skies. "Do you think we're scared of you, country bumpkins?" Not intimidated in the least, the Empire-affiliated Academy contestants released their auras as well. At once, the atmosphere turned into one where they were ready to jump at each other's throats. "What are you doing? What are all of you doing?" It was at this moment when a group of teachers in charge walked out of the teaching faculty building. As they did, a terrifying wave of vast, widespread aura also went crushing toward the contestants. Boom! All the contestants felt as though someone had just delivered them a crushing blow. Everyone turned as pale as a sheet, and alarm and fear surfaced in their eyes. Even Meng Lei was filled with fearful apprehension, despite being a Saint Domain, because all the teachers in charge that had just arrived were Saint Domains. All of them Saint Domains. There were as many as several hundred Saint Domains. Just how fearsome of a force was that? "What are all of you trying to do? Being so presumptuous here?" One of Dragon God Academy's vice presidents rebuked them coldly. "Do you know what this place is? What a bunch of scoundrels. The exchange competition only commences tomorrow. No matter how great your fury is, all of you'd better suck it up until tomorrow comes." All the contestants hung their heads at once, none of them daring to meet his eyes. Humph! It's the same kind of behavior from them every year. In the end, more than half of them croak even before the end of the exchange competition. The same vice president snorted coldly. It was only then that his countenance mellowed a little and he announced, "After much discussion among various parties, the exchange competition schedule has been finalized. We've decided to adopt the same round-by-round elimination system like what we've done in the past. Everyone is to assemble at the Dragon God Cathedral at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. All those that do not arrive by 8 a.m. will be regarded as having voluntarily forfeited the competition. Is this understood?" "Understood. Great." The vice president nodded lightly. Then he said, "All of you may move about freely now. You can take a look around the campus as you wish, or you can also head out of the academy to have a taste of the delicacies here. You just need to assemble at the cathedral by 8 a.m. tomorrow." At his words, all the contestants' eyes from the kingdoms and dukedoms immediately lit up, and their gazes shifted to their respective teachers in charge. Meng Lei and the rest also looked at President Fred's group of 6. "All of you may move about freely today. Just remember to return to the inn by 9 p.m. tonight. Remember, do not make any trouble, and do not do anything that violates the law and discipline." "Yes, President." All the contestants looked as though they had been granted amnesty, and the group dispersed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Almost all the contestants from the 15 kingdoms and 48 dukedoms were asking around about the Dragon God Tower's location, all of them wishing to head over and challenge it. Meng Lei was naturally no exception. At this point, with friendly and enthusiastic smiles, Joel Elton and a few other contestants came over and asked, "Lord Meng Lei, we're free to do anything we want today. Do you want to head over to the Dragon God Tower for a look?" Sure. Meng Lei nodded lightly and asked, Do you know how to get to the Dragon God Tower? Joel nodded incessantly and replied, Yes, I do. I've been to Dragon God Academy and visited the Dragon God Tower once in the past. Lead the way. All right. The group of them charged toward Dragon God Tower enthusiastically. Before long, a tall, lofty, and majestic gigantic tower that stretched all the way into the sky entered their sights. Contrary to what Meng Lei had imagined, Dragon God Tower didn't possess any characteristics related to the Dragon God or the Dragon race at all, and it sported a very odd and peculiar appearance. On the pitch-black tower exterior were engravings of the sun, stars, and the moon, mountains, rivers, the forests, and the woods, birds, animals, insects, and fishes. Thousands upon thousands of different races, it emanated an aged and boundless, mysterious and lofty vibe that involuntarily arose a feeling of insignificance and astoundment within one. As he gazed at the gigantic tower that reached all the way into the sky with its peak out of visibility's range, a hint of puzzlement couldn't help but well up within Meng Lei. Was this gigantic tower really forged by the Dragon God? Meng Lei knew from great experience just what kind of sense of beauty the dragons had. And the gigantic skyscraping tower in front of him at the moment was anything but reminiscent of the dragons. There wasn't even the slightest bit of the dragon race's distinct characteristics. It wasn't the golden color that the dragons loved. There were no dragon scales or claws, let alone their horns and head. Was this really the Dragon God Tower? As expected of the Dragon God Tower. It's majestic and domineering indeed. Tsk. To think we can't see to the top of it even with our eyesight. Just how tall must it be? Probably at least 100 kilometers. All the contestants seeing the Dragon God Tower for the first time were astounded by it, and they let out exclamation after exclamation of astonishment and marvel. Then, Joel pointed at a magic screen at the base of the tower and said, Lord Meng Lei, look, that's the Dragon God Genius ranking. Meng Lei looked over. True enough, he noticed a huge magic screen that reached as high as 1,000 feet tall. On it was a densely packed record of numerous names. And at the very top was an exceptionally eye-catching name. Number 1. Timon Barton, human, 25 years old, level 78. To think he's actually a human. Meng Lei was amazed by the fact. Then his gaze continued downward. Number 2. Augustine Croc, human, 30 years old, level 76, Augustine Croc. Meng Lei was startled. Croc? This last name looks so familiar to the eye. That's the last name of us, Crocs. An Amos voice rang out in his ear. Meng Lei turned to see that the old man had suddenly emerged and spoken. In other words, this ferocious guy ranked second is actually from the Croc clan? Meng Lei was astonished. Well, Amos replied softly, Augustine is my father. Why your father? Meng Lei's mouth fell open as he asked, President, the Augustine that's ranked second is your father? Yes, that's my father, indeed. Well, Amos' countenance was filled with pride as he said, I told you, my father was a cultivation genius. He started his cultivation journey at 10 years old, became a 9th grade warrior at 16, and even successfully promoted to a Saint Domain when he was 26. Before this little fellow named Timon Barton had appeared, father was Dragon God Empire's #1 genius in history. Wow, my president's dad is way impressive. Number 5. Alex Frederick, Golden Colossal Dragon, 30 years old, level 75, number 6. As Meng Lei skimmed through the ranking, apart from the first and second places, everyone in the top 10 places bore the last name of Frederick, and all of them were Golden Colossal Dragons. It was only at 11th place that a black dragon finally appeared. After that, the Golden Colossal Dragons with the Frederick last name started to hog the ranking again. Frederick is the last name of the Dragon God Empire's royalty. Amos explained, all the Golden Colossal Dragons on the ranking are from the royal family. More than half of the top 100 places, no, the first few hundred places are actually all Golden Colossal Dragons. How incredible! Meng Lei stared at the ranking, finding it rather mind-boggling. There were countless geniuses in the massive dragon god empire. Even with that many people around, were they still unable to match up to a few golden colossal dragons? This is a very normal sign. A smiling Ol Amos replied, as royalty among the dragons, the talent that the golden colossal dragons possess isn't something that other races can compare to. In the entire Heaven's Vault continent, only a few races, such as the Thunder Titans of the Titan Empire, the Golden Behemoths of the Beast People Empire, and the Royal Fairies of the Fairy Empire, can compare to them. Although there are only very few golden colossal dragons in each generation, every single one of them is amazingly talented. After all, golden colossal dragons are one of the only few races that become Saint Domains the moment they turn of age. They are Saint Domains the moment they turn of age? Meng Lei shook his head lightly in disbelief before he continued to browse the ranking. OL President, you're actually ranked 689th place? My talent is only average. After going through the ranking, Meng Lei now had a rough understanding of the whole ranking. 60% of them were colossal dragons, 30% of them were drakes, 9% of them comprised other races, and only 1% of them were humans. Judging from the ranking alone, the colossal dragons had a much stronger gift and talent than humans and the other races. With 60% of the ranking made up of colossal dragons and 30% made up of drakes, it came up to a total of 90%. This wasn't just any ordinary gap. The humans are so tragic. They don't even make up 1%. That's for sure. From the start, humans already have the poorest talent. Despite them having the largest population, there is only a scarce number of true geniuses. A human contestant sighed emotionally with a shake of his head. Are humans' talents really that poor? Meng Lei had nothing to say to their comments. However, he held a different view inwardly. In terms of talent, while there was admittedly a gap between humans and colossal dragons, the root of the issue causing a gap like that wasn't their talent. Rather, it was their social statuses. In the Dragon God Empire, humans were in the bottommost tier of the social hierarchy, leading to a situation where 99% of humans had no chances of cultivating at all. Even if people with amazing talent had emerged, who would have known? In comparison, despite there being only a scarce number of colossal dragons, they still hogged 99% of the cultivation resources available nevertheless. Wasn't it a matter of course for them to place in the ranking? If humans were allowed the opportunity to cultivate someday, that so-called Dragon God Genius ranking would definitely undergo a dramatic change. Meng Lei held rather complex feelings toward the issue. Then, he looked at the Dragon God Tower entrance and saw a team of golden armored sentries guarding the entrance. Many contestants from the kingdoms and dukedoms were currently gathered at the entrance, each and every one of them all geared up and eager to give the tower a shot. A golden armored sentry asked, "Is this the first time all of you are going into the Dragon God Tower?" "Yes, it is. Since this is your first time going in, I am obligated to inform you of a few things. Firstly, it is very dangerous in the Dragon God Tower. A moment of carelessness could lead to death. You must be fully prepared before you go in. Secondly, all the magic circles leading to the next levels are located at the areas where magic elements are the richest and densest, and the most powerful native beings usually occupy these places. Therefore, it's also the most dangerous there. Be sure to act carefully. Thirdly, try your best not to move about together because the bigger the target is, the easier it'll be to come under the native being's siege. Once you're besieged, it'll become even more dangerous." This was a series of 3 reminders, yet every one of them was related to the dangers involved. From this, one could see just how treacherous the place was. However, all the contestants had allowed their enthusiasm to go to their heads at the moment and only wished to enter the Dragon God Tower right away. Who would take the golden armored sentry's warnings to heart? At the sight of this, the golden armored sentry shook his head lightly and said, "Challenging the Dragon God Tower isn't child's play. A moment of carelessness will lead to death. I've already said what I should. Whether or not you heed them is none of my business." After he spoke, with a wave of his arm, he commanded, "Let them in!" Whoosh! Following the entrance's opening, the contestants swarmed into the tower, unable to wait any further. That bunch of crazy, ignorant fools. Are they really going in so rashly? Aren't they going to prepare at all? Just you watch. They're going to have a lot to cry about later. Cry? You'll need to have the opportunity to do even that. They might just stay in there forever, without the chance to come out alive for eternity. Exactly. They'll pay a heavy price for their foolishness and insane arrogance. Is there anyone who doesn't know that the death toll is the highest during the exchange competitions every time? I wonder how many are going to croak this time. Several Dragon God Academy students watching the show gesticulated at them, their attitudes totally gloating over their misfortune and watching a show. Joel, is the Dragon God Tower really that dangerous? Asked a contestant nervously. Isn't that obvious? There is no shortage of geniuses that perish in the Dragon God Tower every year. This is no empty talk. Joel went on with a grave look on his face. All of you'd better be careful when you go in later. Should you sense any danger, retreat at once. No matter what, safety always comes first. I don't really dare to go in anymore when you put it that way. Exactly. That's too scary. Actually, there's no need to be overly afraid either. With our strength, the first 10 levels are still relatively safe. Joel said with a smile. Besides, we still have to take part in the exchange competition tomorrow. We'll just go in and have a casual look around today. You're right. We're just here to broaden our horizons today. The few contestants nodded one after another in agreement. Lord Meng Lei, let's go in together. Let's go. Then they passed through the whirlpool-like magic screen. After the world spun for a while, the environment underwent a radical change at once. Sand. Sand filled the sky everywhere. As far as the eye could see, that was all there was. Sand. The sun blazed fiercely in the sky, steam was rising around them everywhere, and the ground was littered with ghastly white skeletons. The place was dry and intensely hot, barren and desolate. There was only dead silence everywhere. This was a world flooded by sand. So, this is Dragon God Tower's first level? Meng Lei commented as he looked around him. It was as though he was in a vast and boundless desert with no end in sight. Meng Lei was puzzled. This was a half-plane? Was there any difference between this and a whole material plane? Where are Joel and the others? However, what amazed Meng Lei the most was that Joel and the others who had come in together with him were all missing. He was the only one standing here in the boundless sea of sand. A vortex-like teleportation doorway was behind him. He needed only to pass through the teleportation doorway to leave the Dragon God Tower. Could the teleportation be random? Never mind, who cares? Let's head to the second level and take a look. Meng Lei flew into the sky and took in the changes in the magic elements in great detail. Then he turned into a stream of light flying out. The earth elemental magic elements in this half-plane were much richer and denser than the world outside. In addition, they were also constantly changing as his location shifted. According to the Golden Armored Sentry, the entrance to the second level was located in the area where the magic elements were the most concentrated. Therefore, he needed only to head toward the area where the magic elements were the most concentrated, and that would do. Meng Lei didn't hold much interest in the first few levels, as what he wanted was to take a look at the higher levels. Hence, he couldn't be bothered to waste any time here. As he sped about at high speed, his movements could only be described with one phrase: as swift as lightning. Boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, the intense sounds of battle rang out ahead of him. Meng Lei lowered his head to take a look, only to see a muscular man with silver horns on his head, currently being besieged by a nest of African elephant-sized scorpions. These scorpions had tough armor on their bodies and were a sandy yellow throughout. Only their tails, standing high and vertically upright, presented a bewitching blood-red color. There were about 20 of them. The 7th grade magical beast, scarlet-tailed scorpions? A wind blade shot out with a casual flick of Meng Lei's fingers, and then it separated into 20 wind blades that sunk accurately into the scarlet-tailed scorpions. Ding! 1 scarlet-tailed scorpion killed. 130,000 gold coins gained. Ding! 1 scarlet-tailed scorpion killed. 120,000 gold coins gained. Ding! In just a mere instant, all 20 scarlet-tailed scorpions had been beheaded. They crashed onto the ground one after another, becoming still and motionless. Oh, what's going on? The silver-horned, muscular man under siege had an utterly confused look on his face. Ding! One giant swamp crocodile killed. 190,000 gold coins gained. Ding! One fiery storm eagle killed. 170,000 gold coins gained. The first level. A world of flowing sand. The second level. A world of torrential floods. The third level. A world of raging storms. The fourth level. A world of blazing flames. The fifth level. Meng Lei went up the whole way, not pausing for even a moment in between. In less than 3 hours, he had already charged all the way to the 11th level of Dragon God Tower. At once, Meng Lei felt a difference. Only one type of element existed in rich abundance in the first 10 levels, whereas he found that there were 2 types of magic elements that were exceptionally rich on the 11th level. They were respectively the earth elemental and water elemental magic elements. This was a half-plane filled with silt and swamps. It stunk to the high heavens, and miasma wafted about. It was as though he had come to a dumping ground. Given Meng Lei's keen senses, he could detect several powerful auras lying dormant in the silt and swamps, ready to launch ambushes any moment. Most of the magical beasts in the first 10 levels were 7th grade ones or 8th grade at best. However, 9th grade ones have started to appear on this level. Would Saint Domain magical beasts start appearing in the higher levels? Meng Lei licked his lips as a hint of greed appeared on his features. As expected, Dragon God Tower is the most suitable place for me to cultivate. Previously, he had earned a hefty sum of money when he had fought back the ant tide at the Magical Beast Ridge. Thanks to that, he had redeemed credit via the system and managed to tremendously improve his strength. However, ever since then, he hadn't had many gold coins coming into his pockets. As a result, his strength had also reached a standstill. This greatly distressed Meng Lei. If it weren't for the fact that he had to participate in the exchange competition, he would have graduated and gone off to hunt magical beasts a long time ago. But it was all good now. Meng Lei had discovered a place that was even more suitable for money-making, and that was the Dragon God Tower. The Dragon God Tower had a total of 100 half-planes, within which lived countless magical beasts and native beings. To others, they were stumbling blocks obstructing them from passing through to higher ground. But in Meng Lei's eyes, they were glittering mountains of gold. The value of 8th grade magical beasts started from 1 million gold coins, while 9th grade magical beasts could sell for 10 million, let alone the Saint Domain ones. Just a single underground cave magical spider emperor that had just broken through alone had already created 5.2 billion plus 6.1 billion equals 11.3 billion gold coins in total for him. One could simply imagine what the Dragon God Tower meant to Meng Lei. The system plus Dragon God Tower equals the most awesome cheating device. Haha! My path to money-making is all clear and free of obstructions from now on. Gurgle, gurgle, just as Meng Lei burst into loud, smug laughter. A few bubbles surfaced in the foul-smelling swamps a short distance away. In the next moment, a fishy, pungent odor rushed toward him. Meng Lei turned to see a shadow swooping toward him. It moved at an extremely high speed and took only a mere instant to reach him. Splurt! A lightning lance flashing with silver electric currents quietly appeared with a casual point of Meng Lei's finger and impaled the shadow's gaping mouth in an instant. The shadow instantly froze in mid-air, its eyes filled with disbelief. The one that had launched an ambush had clearly been it, so why was it that the human's attack that had been launched later had instead reached it earlier? It was just a shame that it no longer had any way of knowing the answer to its question anymore because the raging thunder lance had exploded and blown its head into smithereens. Ding! One Blackwater leech killed. 1,390,000 gold coins gained. 1,390,000 gold coins? Not bad. With a wave of his arm, Meng Lei kept the Blackwater leech's magic core. Then, he let out the magic carpet and continued forward. Although he could already fly, Meng Lei felt that it was more prudent that he matured cowardly in a place like this instead. This way, he would be able to bait the magical beasts hiding in the shadows into attacking him. This was the only way he could make money, right? And in truth, that was exactly how it was. The sight of him steering the magic carpet about was as though a piece of plump, fleshy meat swaggering through the streets. and it attracted the covetous eyes of innumerable magical beasts. Ding! 1 Blackwater leech killed. 1,360,000 gold coins gained. Ding! 1 six-tailed poisonous centipede killed. 1,480,000 gold coins gained. Ding! 1 blue-eyed golden toad killed. 2,710,000 gold coins gained. Ding! Meng Lei slaughtered all the magical beasts he encountered the whole way. 8th grade magical beasts perished in his hands one after another. When he was about to reach the magic circle leading to the 12th level, he finally encountered a 9th grade magical beast. It was snowy white, 50 meters tall, and steel needle-like fur covered its body, its hair pointing upside down. Its muscles were bulging and brimming with explosive energy. Its form resembled a giant ape, yet it had 4 bewitching blood-red eyes. Even though it had arms and legs, it also had an additional 2 pairs of fins. The 9th grade magical beast, blood-eyed hydro-ape, Meng Lei was all smiles at once. The worth of a 9th grade magical beast started at 10 million gold coins, after all. He could finally earn some money now. Roar! The blood-eyed hydro-ape thumped its chest loudly, producing low, thunderous war drum-like thumps. Its large, savage mouth opened wide as it roared furiously. The next moment, it raised its gigantic palm and grabbed at Meng Lei. Usually, I'd have been able to play with you a little, but I have limited time today. Sorry about that. With a flash, Meng Lei vanished from where he was. By the time he reappeared, he was already behind the blood-eyed hydro-ape. Then a heavy fist went flying out. Snap! The back of the blood-eyed hydro-ape's head was broken and crushed by the wild, violent blast. The rushing wave of energy entered its body and instantly ground its brains into bits and pieces, killing it on the spot. Ding! 1 blood-eyed hydro-ape killed. 12 million gold coins gained. Tisk TSK. Killing 9th grade magical beasts brings in money faster indeed. Meng Lei gouged out the blood-eyed hydro-ape's magic core with a casual grabbing motion, and then he left in a fantastic mood. As for the carcass of that 9th grade magical beast, he would just leave it for the native magical beasts of that plane to enjoy. He found it somewhat beneath him now. Buzz! The magic circle lit up, and Meng Lei disappeared from where he was. By the time he reappeared, he had already arrived at the 12th level of the Dragon God Tower. Dense, lush primeval forests were surrounding him now. Towering trees that reached as high as 1,000 feet were everywhere. As far as the eye could see, it was a sea of forests. Yet, in the center of the forest stood an enormous, lofty, and majestic mountain peak. Wisps of thick smoke billowed from the summit, rushing toward the sky like smoke signals in war. Additionally, all around the mountain was black lava that had just hardened, as well as dust, limestone, broken rocks, and so on that covered the whole place. That was an active volcano that could erupt any time. Forests and a volcano. The wood elemental and fire elemental magic elements in this world are exceptionally active. Looks like it's a half-plane with mainly wood elemental and fire elemental laws of nature. At once, Meng Lei let out his magic carpet and flew slowly and leisurely toward the area where the wood elemental and fire elemental magic elements were the richest. Whoosh! The swift and sharp sound of something slicing through the air rang out. As though a poisonous python, a vine suddenly shot out of the forest and shot toward Meng Lei at a lightning-quick speed. Ambushing me? Meng Lei chuckled. He neither ducked nor attacked, allowing the vine to wrap around him as it wished. Then it dragged him down to the surface. A brief moment later, Meng Lei was dragged right over to a strange tree with a trunk so thick that it would require 10 people to circle around it. The strange tree wasn't very tall. However, innumerable vines draped from its crown-like hair and in a mess. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Several vines covered in sharp thorns extended toward Meng Lei and went stabbing toward him viciously, as though they wanted to pierce into his body and suck him dry. Clink, clink, clink. However, the strange tree had made the wrong decision. Its thorns stabbed against Meng Lei as though they were stabbing against steel and iron, causing a series of sparks to fly about. Apart from that, they didn't manage to pierce into Meng Lei at all. 9th grade magical beast, man-eating tree ghoul, Eh? Even if I allow you to pierce me all you want, you wouldn't be able to hurt me at all. This was the wood elemental spell, Life Drawing. Meng Lei retaliated against it with its own medicine. Weren't you going to suck me dry? I'll suck you dry first. Gurgle, gurgle. Upon feeling its vitality being drained continuously, the strange tree started struggling. Its trunk shook, and its vines lashed out, attacking the green pythons madly to peel them off its tree body. Unfortunately, the green pythons that rooted on it were like maggots deep in its bones. However hard it struggled, it simply couldn't move them in the least. Could only watch them devour its vitality. Whimper. Eventually, amid the strange tree's shrill screams, its vitality was entirely devoured, and it died with indignation and regret. Ding! One man-eating tree ghoul killed. 17,300,000 gold coins gained. Ift. Gotten 17 million gold coins. Meng Lei nodded in satisfaction, then dug out a durian-sized, translucent green crystal that glowed with a green luster like a green jade. This is the man-eating tree ghoul's magic core? Such rich vitality. This is a treasure. Amos' voice sounded in his head. The magic cores of wood elemental magical beasts are also called vitality cores. They contain a vast amount of vitality and can bring even people who are severely injured and on the verge of death back to life. It is called a divine healing medicine. Thus, the value of one vitality core is several times, even tens of times, that of similar grade magic cores. The man-eating tree ghoul is a 9th grade magical beast, so its vitality core is even rarer. If one brings its vitality core to an auction, it can sell for at least 100 million. 100 million? That's very good then. Meng Lei's eyes lit up. He casually put away the vitality core and continued to fly forward. Not long after he left, the completely still trees in the surrounding area all reached out with their vines to stab at man-eating tree ghoul's body and started to absorb the remaining vitality in its body. Ding! One jade wood butterfly killed. 12,900,000 gold coins gained. Ding! One witherbark cicada killed. 1,460,000 gold coins gained. Ding! Assimilation successful. Host's physical body constitution plus 3,870. Ding! Assimilation successful. Host's magic power plus 2,659. He went all the way up without any resistance. By the time Meng Lei reached the magic circle that led to the 13th level, he had casually killed a total of 48 9th grade magical beasts. 48 9th grade magical beasts. What kind of efficiency was this? One had to know that only a mere half an hour had passed since he had entered the 12th floor. Such efficiency, such speed. Whoosh! He stepped into the magic circle. After a whirl of dizziness, the surrounding environment changed again. Meng Lei arrived at a vast, endless grassland. Grass, the height of his knees, was very lush. A strong gust of wind blew, and the grass bowed down. Swoosh! On the patch of earth not far away, a tornado the height of dozens of meters was raging, bursting into a crazy roar. The sound traveled more than 100 miles. The whole world was dark. Wood and wind elements both are very rich. This is the Dragon God Tower's 13th level? It's actually very suitable for cultivating wind elemental magic. Meng Lei did some sensing as usual and then continued to push forward. Ding! One stormy flying elephant killed. 17 million gold coins gained. Ding! One stormy flying elephant killed. 18 million gold coins gained. Ding! One cloud stooping black ox killed. 16 million gold coins gained. Half an hour later, Meng Lei arrived at the 14th level. Ding! One gold-backed mantis killed. 19 million gold coins gained. Ding! One three-winged heavenly thunder ant killed. 18,600,000 gold coins gained. The 15th floor. The 16th floor. The 17th floor. The 18th floor. The 19th floor. The 20th floor. He pushed through all the way. Whoosh! Half an hour later, Meng Lei arrived at the 21st level smoothly. The environment changed drastically again. The world of ice, which was covered with the moment before, became a world filled with volcanoes and lavas in the next moment. The sky was filled with thick layers of red clouds, and many purple lightning bolts moved rapidly between the cloud layers. The sound of thunder had an intimidating impetus. A boiling hot lava river was running nonstop on top of the earth. If ordinary living things arrived here, they would definitely be baked till their skins were dried. The fire, thunder, and darkness elements are particularly rich. From this layer onward, there should be Saint Domain magical beast already, right? There was a faint look of anticipation in Meng Lei's eyes. The easy kills along his whole way before this were only small appetizers, after all. The Saint Domain magical beasts in the higher levels were the feast he was really looking forward to. Therefore, he arrived here in one go nonstop. The magic elements over there are the richest. Meng Lei found out the direction and then flew over, riding his magic carpet. Half an hour later, the magic circle toward the 22nd level was already in view. But strangely, he actually didn't see a single magical beast, not to mention magical beasts, not even a hair of a magical beast. How strange! Can there be no magical beasts on this level? But this shouldn't be happening. Meng Lei stopped in midair, and looks of confusion filled his eyes as he observed the vast and empty world of lava. Whoosh! At that moment, a burning wave of air suddenly came from behind him. Then, he saw a viper completely made of boiling hot lava shooting right at him, as though it wanted to swallow Meng Lei whole. Meng Lei's ears moved slightly, and he suddenly disappeared from the spot where he was. Boom! The lava viper's failed attack suddenly burst and turned into countless droplets of lava, splashing all around. Meng Lei eerily appeared at another spot. His eyes locked on a lava lake near him. The corners of his mouth curved upwards slightly. It was from that lava lake that the lava viper had shot out of just now. Gurgle gurgle, the lava lake boiled with bubbles. A stone-like head slowly emerged, and on this stone head were actually a horn, a single eye, and a nose. Splash! The lava boiled, before a 3-meter-tall humanoid creature, with a body made entirely of red rocks and burning flames surrounding it, came out. 9th grade magical beast, Red Rock Fire Demon. Although Meng Lei was stunned, he immediately felt very disappointed. Why is it still a 9th grade magical beast? Where are the Saint Domain magical beasts? Where are they hiding? Right when Meng Lei was confused, one red head followed by another emerged from the lava lake. All of them had entirely flame-covered red bodies covered. They were all Red Rock Fire Demons, at least 100, and they instantly surrounded Meng Lei. Roar! All the Red Rock Fire Demons roared angrily, opened their bloody red mouths, and spewed out many waves of boiling hot red lava. The boiling hot lava shot over from all directions and directly blocked Meng Lei's way, leaving him no space to escape. He could only forcefully take on them. 128 Red Rock Fire Demons, Still quite a fortune. I will take you all reluctantly, shall I? Faced with the lava attacks, Meng Lei was calm and composed. At the moment right before the boiling hot lava reached him, a layer of diamond-like shining crystals suddenly emerged from all surfaces of his body. He turned into a diamond-like man instantly. That was the 9th grade spell, Earth Guardian's Saintly Armor. Roar! The Red Rock Fire Demon saw this and let out triumphant roars, then got ready to retreat into the lava lake to continue sleeping. Meng Lei's death was certain in their views, as there was no way he could survive their lava attack. No human could. There were at least hundreds and millions of outsiders who died in their hands. Yet, in the next moment, the Red Rock Fire Demons were shocked. Meng Lei actually stood right where he was, completely unharmed. Even the magic robe on him was just as new as before, without suffering the least bit of damage. What? The Red Rock Fire Demons were shocked. At that moment, Meng Lei had already turned into a stream of light and shot right toward the Red Rock Fire Demons. Bang, bang, bang. Amid successive collisions, the Red Rock Fire Demons' heads burst open like watermelons. Crushed rocks shot and lava splashed. Ding! 1 Red Rock Fire Demon killed. 6,400,000 gold coins gained. Ding! 1 Red Rock Fire Demon killed. 6,370,000 gold coins gained. Ding! 1 red rock fire demon killed. 6,290,000 gold coins gained. Ding! Roar! The remaining red rock fire demons were terrified, and they all squinted into the lava lake in an attempt to dodge Meng Lei's attack. Unfortunately, it was of no use. With a soft snap of fingers, a gigantic rock with a diameter of hundreds of meters appeared in the sky and then smashed down right at this lava lake. Boom! With an earth-shaking loud bang, the gigantic rock hit very hard right at the lava lake center. Huge waves of lava were splashed, revealing the red rock fire demons hidden inside the lava lake. The unlucky ones were smashed into a flesh pie, and the more fortunate ones were sent into midair by the huge force and then killed by Meng Lei. Though he didn't meet any Saint Domain magical beast, Meng Lei had to admit that these red rock fire demons that inhabited the 21st level were indeed very strong, and they had a geographical advantage on top of that. Even peak 9th grade experts like Francis would definitely be in grave danger when facing them. One small mishap and they may die on this level. But it was different for Meng Lei. Even though the red rock fire demons had a geographical and numerical advantage, they were still a bunch of fragile weaklings waiting for him to kill them. 9th grade, Saint Domain. It was just the difference of a single grade, but it made the distinction between heaven and earth. Whoosh! The lava lake gradually returned to peace, but the red rock fire demons, who were ravaging and roaring just now, had fallen asleep forever. All of them were killed, and not even a survivor remained. 7.8 billion gold coins into the pocket. Meng Lei revealed a smile, and a fist-sized fiery red crystal appeared in his palm. With the addition of 128 red rock fire demons magic cores, the 21st level has given me the richest rewards after I entered the Dragon God Tower. Pfft. It's still faster to earn money by hunting magical beasts. Yeep, off to the next level. Hope I can encounter Saint Domain magical beasts. Whoosh! The 22nd floor. The 23rd floor. The 24th floor. Meng Lei advanced all the way very smoothly, passing through every level with an average of half an hour. His speed was so fast that it was unbelievable. 5 hours later, he had already arrived at the 30th level. Boom, boom, boom. Meng Lei turned into a flash of lightning and kept moving and attacking. Strange magical beasts constituted entirely of mud, and muddy water were around him. They looked very similar to earthworms and leeches. After observing them closely, they were like a thick, entangled mass. They were the peak 9th grade magical beasts, Undying mud leeches. There was nothing extraordinary about 9th grade magical beasts, but what drove Meng Lei mad was that Undying mud leeches were practically impossible to kill. Be it hitting them with his fists or bombarding them with magic, nothing worked at all. It's impossible to kill them. Boy, you must find the Undying mud leech's weakness before you can kill them. Otherwise, they will slowly exhaust your physical strength and magic power and kill you eventually. While Amos reminded him promptly, I know about finding the weakness, but does such a thing really have a weakness? Meng Lei was also thinking about this question. From the 21st level onwards, he hadn't met any Saint Domain magical beasts, yet he kept meeting a bunch of extremely strange 9th grade magical beasts. They were not only shocking in their numbers, but they were also extremely hard to deal with. They either had extraordinary defense systems and were very hard to kill, had amazing vitality and couldn't be killed, or there were so many of them that they couldn't all be killed. These were still not that bad. Meng Lei had forced himself to be patient and deal with all of them. But on the 30th level, this bunch of Undying mud leeches he encountered made him feel particularly stuck. After he broke them into pieces, they would return to their original forms. One spell was enough to burn, dry, chop them up, yet within a few breaths they were okay again. Physical attacks were useless, and they were immune to magical attacks. What else could he do? If physical and magic attacks don't work, then try spiritual attacks. Well, Amos reminded him, any living thing has a weakness, and Undying mud leeches can't be the exception. I was just thinking about this. Meng Lei nodded hard. His spiritual power unleashed like a tide and surged toward the nearest Undying mud leech. Boom, boom, boom. Meng Lei's spiritual power was rich to the extreme, and it madly attacked the Undying Mud Leech's sea of consciousness. To Meng Lei's surprise, the Undying Mud Leech's spirit was actually much weaker than he imagined. One small spiritual attack easily dismantled the seas of consciousness of several Undying Mud Leeches. They rolled their eyes and instantly dropped weakly to the ground. Ding! One Undying Mud Leech killed. 9,400,000 gold coins gained. It died. Meng Lei's spirit was greatly revived, and he continued attacking. Bump, bump, bump. Undying Mud Leeches fell in waves like harvested crops. In a short while, all the Undying Mud Leeches died. Ding! One Undying Mud Leech killed. 9,490,000 gold coins gained. Ding! One Undying Mud Leech killed. 9,620,000 gold coins gained. The system's cue tones kept sounding. Meng Lei looked at the Undying Mud Leech's corpses that crashed into the mud pond and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. "OL President, now I finally understand why everyone said the Dragon God Tower is difficult to venture through. The first 10 levels are easy. At the 11th level, 9th grade magical beasts start to appear, and the difficulty level slowly starts to increase. At the 21st level, there are more and more 9th grade magical beasts, and they are harder and harder to deal with. The difficulty level increases exponentially. Below the Saint Domain level, it is hard for someone to even go past 25 levels. You've finally realized it." Well, Amos chuckled and said, "The first 10 levels are easy, so ordinary geniuses can get past them with a bit more effort. From the 11th level onward, it gets a bit hard. 90% of exchange competition participants would be stuck in these 10 levels and find it hard to make the slightest progress. As for the 21st to the 30th level, especially the higher 5 levels, they are almost impossible for 9th grade experts to pass through. Faced with 9th grade magical beasts that are astounding in numbers and are super hard to deal with, even pure-blood colossal dragons have to fail." "Indeed," Meng Lei nodded slightly. "So, usually people who can pass through the first 30 levels mostly are in Saint Domain or have the battle power of Saint Domain." Well, Amos smiled and said, "To be able to reach here, one would be good enough to be listed on the Dragon God Genius ranking." Oh, Meng Lei was stunned. He said with surprise, "Which means my name has already appeared on the Dragon God Genius ranking?" "Yes." After Dragon God Academy played host to the teachers in charge and held a welcoming banquet in their name, the teachers also began their own leisure time. Some of the teachers went directly to the Dragon God Tower. Among them were President Fred and the Fighting Dragon Academy president. Had it been during the past years, there wouldn't have been anything much to watch. After all, it wasn't like there were any decent geniuses around. What was the point of watching others' performances? However, that wasn't the case this year. There was much to look forward to. Given Meng Lei's strength, if he stays somewhat careful and cautious, there won't be much of a problem for him to pass through the first 30 levels. It's enough for him to place in the ranking. Instead of 30 levels, he just needs to pass through 22 levels, and he'll have a chance of placing in the ranking. There's also much hope for that Francis kid. President Fred and the Fighting Dragon Academy president idly chatted the whole way idly as they headed over. Soon, they reached the Dragon God Tower. At that moment, the area in front of the Dragon God Tower was already packed with people. They gesticulated and speculated among themselves, creating quite the lively atmosphere. What the heck? The contestants from the 15 kingdoms and 48 dukedoms are really impressive this time. Quite a few have actually made it into the ranking. Isn't that so? The most impressive one is already ranked 487th. That's 487th in history. How awesome! TSK. They passed through the 30th level so easily. Impressive. If I recall correctly, it hasn't even been 8 hours since they entered the Dragon God Tower, right? Seems like it. Upon hearing their speculations, President Fred and the Fighting Dragon Academy president both looked at the huge magic screen, and then their gaze slowly went all the way up. Number 972. Francis Matthew, Frost Dragon Person, 28 years old, level 23. Did you see that? As expected, Francis has made it into the ranking. President Fred remarked cheerfully. That little fellow is certainly not bad. He didn't disgrace you. He's all right, I guess. He can't compare to Meng Lei. The Fighting Dragon Academy president adopted an awfully humble attitude. However, he couldn't hide the smile on his lips, no matter what he did. One mustn't be fooled by how the 972nd placement seemed rather low. It was more than enough to prove Francis' shocking talent. One must know that the Dragon God Genius ranking was a ranking in which all geniuses competed against one another on the same platform in the recent 40,000-odd years. Choosing 1,000 people over the course of 40,000 years. Just how fierce was the competition? Just how many people desired to place in the ranking, yet failed? Being able to make it into the ranking was the symbol of one's strength itself. Being able to make it into the ranking was the symbol of one's talent itself. It was no exaggeration to say that every one of those that could place in the ranking was a genius whose name would remain forever in history. They had enormous potential, and the Saint Domain realm was within sight for them. President Fred gave him a smile in response, and then his gaze continued to go up the ranking. Oh hey, isn't that Fred and Fighting Dragon? A sinister voice suddenly rang out from behind them. Why is it that old fogey again? The two of them broke into frowns at the same time. The voice was all they needed to know who had just arrived. Aside from that loathsome old black dragon, who else could it be? Why are the two of you interested in the Dragon God Genius ranking? 2. Indeed, the person who had just arrived was Angus, the Academy President of Black Dragon Academy. His gaze flickered over to the Dragon God Genius ranking, and then he broke into a smile so wide that his countenance became all wrinkled. That Isaiah kid hasn't disappointed me. He has ranked 692nd and reached level 28. He didn't let all my grooming of him go to waste. Upon hearing his words, President Fred and the Fighting Dragon Academy president couldn't help but look at the person in 692nd place. Number 692. Isaiah Thomas, Black Dragon person, 26 years old. Level 28. 26 years old. Level 28. That fellow has pretty good talent. President Fred and the Fighting Dragon Academy president exchanged a look, both seeing the astonishment in each other's eyes. To pass through the 28th level, one must be at least a 9th grade pinnacle level expert and possess great mastery of the universe's momentum. For him to possess this level of strength at the age of 26, he was astonishingly talented for sure. I've heard that a few geniuses have also emerged from your academies. I wonder if they've placed in the ranking yet? Which positions are they in? How are they doing in comparison to our academy's Isaiah? Angus asked cheerfully. Since time immemorial, the Fire Dragon Academy and the Fighting Dragon Academy have always been elite academies where geniuses emerge in every generation. I'm sure there must be extraordinary geniuses in this batch of students, too. Stop acting so smug, Angus. President Fred was someone with a blunt and straightforward temperament. He couldn't help but snort and say, "Isn't it just the 692nd position? What's so great about that?" "Yes, it certainly isn't anything great." Angus didn't flare up. Instead, he was all smiles as he replied, "Since that's what you're saying, Fred, then I'm sure the Fire Dragon Magic Academy must have an even more outstanding genius?" Her. Of course. President Fred snorted, and then he quickly looked at where the 487th place was in the ranking. He believed that that must be where Meng Lei ranked. However, he was disappointed. Number 487. Derek, Golden Colossal Dragon, 30 years old, level 31. It's not Meng Lei? Fred looked absolutely stupefied. He had thought that the genius in 487th place must be Meng Lei for sure. After all, among the geniuses of the 15 kingdoms and 48 dukedoms, Meng Lei was the most outstanding one for sure. Therefore, Meng Lei's position must be the highest. Who else could it other than Meng Lei that had come in 487th place? However, the truth was that it wasn't Meng Lei. What exactly is that fellow doing? President Fred was rather anxious. However, it was at this moment that bursts of exclamations reached his ears. What the heck? That guy from just now has sped all the way to 469th place. 469th? He sped all the way there so quickly. Did that guy take a rage potion or what? 469th? Upon hearing what they said, President Fred, the Fighting Dragon Academy president, and Angus, the muscular old man, looked at the 469th position almost all at the same time. The moment they did, all three of them had different reactions. President Fred heaved a long breath of relief while the Fighting Dragon Academy president's countenance was full of marvel. The words, "I knew it!" all over his face. Angus, however, gasped and reacted as if he had just seen a ghost. He's reached level 32 when he's only 16 years old? Wait a minute. 16 years old? How can that be? The gasps of astonishment around them weren't any less intense than his. All those who had noticed the person in 469th place were astounded by what they had just seen. Number 469, Menglei, human, 16 years old, level 32. For one to pass through Dragon God Tower's 32nd level, they must at least possess the strength of a Saint Domain. In other words, that 16-year-old little fellow already possesses the strength of a Saint Domain. 16 years old? Saint Domain? Is he even human? He must be a freak? I really wonder where that mutant came from. For him to become a Saint Domain at 16 years old, he's totally a monster on a level among the top 10. No, the top 3 of history. He must be from the 15 kingdoms and 48 dukedoms. Otherwise, a genius on a level among the top few of history like that would have made it into the ranking a long time ago. He wouldn't have waited until today to challenge the Dragon God Tower. That makes sense. I wonder which kingdom he's from. Upon hearing the crowd's gasps of astonishment, a complex look came over Angus' countenance. I didn't expect that a monster like that has actually emerged from us 15 kingdoms and 48 dukedoms. This is truly unbelievable. A 16-year-old Saint Domain. He was only a notch inferior to Timon Barton, the number 1 in history. That firmly made him the number 2 in history. The number 2 person over the course of 40,000 years. How amazing was that? At Angus' exclamation of admiration, President Fred smiled so widely that his visage was all wrinkled. He said, "That Menglei kid hasn't disappointed me after all. Coming in at 469th place and going up to level 32. He didn't let all my grooming of him go to waste." The Fighting Dragon Academy president cast a glance at Angus and also remarked sarcastically, "Although he can't compare with someone else's genius from the Black Dragon Academy, he still did pretty well." Oh, at his words, Angus' countenance immediately froze. "Fred, that mutant at 469th place is from the Fire Dragon Magic Academy?" "Yes. Is something wrong?" The whole place seemed like the forbidden zone of life. On the silver-colored ground were violent gusts of wind wreaking havoc while letting out wild shrieks and howls. And in the sky were roaring streaks of lightning running through the clouds. They thundered deafeningly, their momentum horrifying. The ground, it's made of metal. Menglei stood proudly between heaven and earth, gazing into the distance at the solitary world where violent gusts of wind wreaked havoc and thunder crackled and boomed loudly, a look of anticipation vaguely in his eyes. At the 31st level, his wish had come true, and he had encountered a Saint Domain magical beast. Although it was just a golden-backed ox scorpion, he had still earned 9.8 billion gold coins from it. Coupled with its magic core, that was double the rewards for him. Sweet. Here's hoping that this level doesn't disappoint me too. Menglei licked his lips. Then, his form flitted toward the area with the richest magic elements. From the 31st level onward, there was no longer any need for him to use the magic carpet anymore. He moved at a speed neither too fast nor too slow. Before he knew it, he had already crossed the long distance and arrived at the area where the magic elements were the richest. A great silver-colored mountain entered his sight. Like the ground surrounding it, the fairly majestic-looking silver-colored mountain was also made out of silver-colored metal. A silvery white color throughout, the mountain reached as high as several hundred meters tall. Puff, puff. Halfway up the mountain were 2 caves. 2 thick and solid tornadoes shot out of the caves and blew toward the ground in the distance, howling as they did so. A Saint Domain magical beast is hiding in the cave? Meng Lei landed in front of the cave. As he stared at the two almost identical-looking caves, he made an antagonistic move. He threw a fireball into the cave with a casual toss of his hand. He wanted to bombard the cave and drive the Saint Domain magical beast out of it. Boom! The fireball exploded, causing even the entire mountain to shake. Thick smoke billowed out of the cave, and then something that astonished Meng Lei happened the very next moment. Boom! Amid dull, thunderous booms, the mountain suddenly began to shake and sway, and the ground started to tremble and shake. At the same time, a series of roars also reached his ears. What the heck? Meng Lei realized something right away, and he retreated with a sudden burst of speed. At the same time, he also gazed at the mountain that was in the midst of standing up, a look of astonishment surfacing in his eyes. Ahead, arms, legs. That was no goddamn mountain. It was clearly a metallic giant. It was just that, wasn't that giant a little too tall? Was it 1,500 meters tall? Or 2,000 meters? Meng Lei was dumbstruck by the sight. What kind of magical beast is that? Well, Amos' voice rang out as he replied, "That's the golden steel Wind-Ape, a rare species among ape-type magical beasts. A metal elemental and wind elemental Saint Domain magical beast. It possesses Herculean strength and is fairly difficult to deal with. Be careful. If you can't beat it, run immediately. Don't let the golden steel Wind-Ape smack you to death with its palm." The golden steel Wind-Ape? Meng Lei raised an eyebrow. The golden steel Wind-Ape glared furiously at Meng Lei, raging flames of fury bursting forth from its huge eyes that were as big as elephants. "Damned human! How dare you disturb Bradley's beautiful dreams? You're courting death." It had only just spoken when it immediately opened its bus-sized mouth and spat out a tornado measuring a dozen or so meters wide. Whoosh! As he faced the tornado sweeping toward him, Meng Lei stood still and motionless. In fact, he was even somewhat in a trance, because in the instant that the golden steel Wind-Ape had launched its attack, a few dazzling light balls had dropped from it. Ding! Dropped item detected. Will you pick it up? Isn't that obvious? Pick it up, ding. Pickup successful. Host's physical body constitution plus 3038. Ding. Assimilation successful. You have obtained the first-class spell, Golden Wheel Reincarnation Blast. Ding. Assimilation successful. You have obtained the first-class spell, Dimensional Blade. Ding. Assimilation successful. You have obtained a Wind Elemental Laws of Nature Fragment. What the heck? At the sound of the system notifications constantly ringing out in his mind, Meng Lei became excited at once. First-class spells and a Wind Elemental Laws of Nature Fragment. He had really struck gold this time. When he had battled Saint Domain magical beasts in the past, they had never once dropped this much good stuff before. Boom! However, during this exact instant, the fearsome tornado straight up engulfed Meng Lei, and countless razor-sharp wind blades sliced at his body. The magic robe he was wearing didn't last long before it was ripped into shreds by the innumerable wind blades. And then, it was his underwear's turn. Similarly, they weren't spared either. However, the amazing thing was that when the razor-sharp wind blades cleaved onto Meng Lei's body, it was as though they were cleaving onto steel plates. Aside from causing bursts of sparks to fly about, they weren't able to cut even a bit of his skin. Additionally, it was as though Meng Lei didn't feel any pain or agony either. No matter how the wind blades cleaved at him or attacked him, he stayed still and motionless. The wind's lithe gracefulness, nimbleness, raging violence. It could be as gentle as a soft breeze caressing one's face, while it could also be as turbulent as to destroy the heavens and earth. The wind, waves of comprehension and information regarding the wind elemental laws of nature appeared within Meng Lei's mind. He browsed through them quickly as though he was watching a movie. In no time, he had opened the door to the wind elemental laws of nature. So this is what wind is. After a long while, Meng Lei slowly opened his eyes. A shrewd gleam flashed across his eyes, and then his entire self disappeared inside the tornado. By the time he reappeared, he was already behind the golden steel Wind-Ape. As they say, it doesn't fulfill propriety if one doesn't return as good as they receive. You can have a taste of my wind, too. Meng Lei opened his mouth. A lithe, transparent air current suddenly shot out of his mouth and shot toward the back of the golden steel Wind-Ape's head at lightning-quick speed. Whoosh! Upon coming into contact with air, the light and lithe air current had a sudden, dramatic burst of speed. In an instant, it morphed into an incomparably sharp wind blade that cleaved viciously against the back of the golden steel Wind-Ape's head. Crack! Amid the sounds of metals colliding against each other, a small crack was cleaved out of the back of the golden steel Wind-Ape's head, and peculiar black blood squirted out of it. Roar! Although the tiny crack didn't count as much at all when compared to the golden steel Wind-Ape's enormous body, it still pained the magical beast, nevertheless. It let out furious roars after roars. Then, it turned around, and its palm smacked viciously toward Meng Lei, as though it wanted to crush him into smithereens. Whoosh! Meng Lei vanished in an instant. By the time he reappeared, he was already on the golden steel Wind-Ape's shoulder. He said, "Your defenses are pretty good, big guy, but you're too slow." Roar! The golden steel Wind-Ape quickly turned its head and delivered another smack with its palm. Although its speed was fast enough, it was still as slow as an 80-year-old granny in Meng Lei's eyes. Too slow. Meng Lei ducked slightly, and then he arrived at the top of the golden steel Wind-Ape's head. It was only at this point that its gigantic palm finally landed against its shoulder. With a thunderous boom, the golden steel Wind-Ape knocked itself unsteady, causing itself to stumble. Ha ha ha! How stupid! Meng Lei couldn't help but break into a grin. Have all of its stat attribute points gone to its size and defenses? There's pretty much no one else with a speed like the golden steel Wind-Ape's. Duh! If the golden steel Wind-Ape was fast enough, would it appear here? Well, Amos snorted and said, "But come to think of it, isn't your speed a little too fast? Even Saint Domain magical beasts with agility as their forte aren't as quick-footed as you. It would be stranger if the golden steel Wind-Ape could catch up to you." Ha ha! Of course. Meng Lei smiled smugly in response, thinking to himself, "My defenses are also super awesome, let alone my speed. Do you think the god-slaying rat bloodline is unworthy of its reputation?